Let's get an overview of how these formulas work in a real live setting. We've been looking at the VLOOKUP, the index, the match, the choose, the if error, the is functions. And now let's go through what they did in the book in Chapter 5, Level 3, pages 316 to 344. Here is the finished spreadsheet with the formulas in place, and we will look at those formulas just to examine how they were put together and why they work. First of all, notice we have different tables on different sheets. We have pricing schedules, we have products, we have a discount, shipping, states, etc. And here is the orders table. We're supposed to be able to put in these numbers in the blue cells. Say, I want to order a bunch of this item and I want this many of them. And here's the state that I'm shipping to. Here is the shipping method, and here is the type of customer. So the user enters only these items, the item number, the quantity, and these three things. Everything else is a formula that calculates or looks up what they want. So let's start with this first formula. We want to find the description. Let's look at the different names. Discounts is this table on the discount schedule. Products, that gives the item number and the description, doesn't it? So we would want to look up the item number in the products table, and we would want to get back the description. That would be column 2, wouldn't it? So on the orders table, if we look here, it says, here's the VLOOKUP. It says, look up what's in A9, that's the item number. Go to the table called products. Give me what's in column 2 and make it an exact match. Now, what if there's an error? Or what if this column is blank? What if we haven't filled this out? Well, then it says, if that's blank, then just put a space here. So this same formula is right here, isn't it? But this is blank, so it just put a space here. But if I put a number here, number 8, then it goes and looks it up. So that's a nice use where we can keep the formulas here, and I'm just going to delete everything here, and everything goes away. So the formulas are still there, and now I can just start entering item numbers. Item 8, I want 60 of those. Item 11, I want that many of those. And that's a very nice way to look it up. Nothing new there. The only new thing is the is blank. Now let's look up the shipping weight. How will I know the shipping weight? Well, I'd have to know how much each of those things weighs, wouldn't I? And I would multiply it by how many things I'm ordering. So I think that's in the products table. Yes, it is. It says here's the ship weight of each of those items. What column is that in? That's in column 4. So we would want to look up that item number in the products table. We would want to return what's in column 4, that's the ship weight. We'd want to multiply it times this quantity, and that would tell us the total shipping weight. And again, if this is blank, then make this blank so we don't have a bunch of errors or stuff there. So this looks up what is number 8. 8 is this. It's 14 pounds. If we ordered 60 of them, that would be 840 pounds, wouldn't it? And it says 840 pounds. Again, the only new thing is the is blank. Using the if statement so that we can keep our formulas in all these rows and not have to ever recopy them. We just let the user fill this out, and if they fill it out, then the formula shows up. If they haven't told me the quantity, it looks up the description. Is number 8 60? Oh, that's the unit price. And that would be from the pricing schedule, wouldn't it? So here's the unit price for item number 8 is $69.99. In looking up the unit price, we notice that in our products table, there are two pricing schedules. Schedule 1 are fixed items, where you pay the same unit price regardless of how many you order. Pricing Schedule 2 are variable priced items. Right now, tennis balls is the only one that is in Schedule 2. Everything else is Schedule 1. And this pricing schedule would be a true lookup from a VLOOKUP and say if you order at least 60, you're going to get this price instead of that price. If you order 120, you're going to get this price. But if you order 240 or more, you're going to get this unit price. So we want that to be automatic. The customer doesn't even need to know which things are on Pricing Schedule 1 and which things are on Pricing Schedule 2. All we have to do is they give us the item number and we look it up in which column here? Column 3. That's going to tell us which pricing schedule to choose. So let's look at how they did that. This is going to look very complicated, but let's break it down. Under the orders table, under unit price, here's what they're doing. They're saying, first of all, look up in the products table, column 3, and tell me what you find. If it's number 1, just give me the item number. If it's not number 1, then give me the quantity to go look up somewhere else. Notice this is another VLOOKUP function, and it's saying, what do I want to look up? Well, if it's fixed, I just want to look up the item number in the fixed table. If it's variable, then I want to look up the quantity in the pricing to table. And so now it says, which table do I want to use? If we're in the VLOOKUP function, first we want to say what value are we going to look up. And so we're going to look up either A9 or C9. And then the next thing is what table are we going to look in? Well, this says choose either price 1 or price 2 based on what number you get when you look that up. If you get a number 1, then look it up in price 1. If you get a number 2, then look it up in price 2. And regardless of what table we look in, we're going to want to get back column 2. And now the question is it going to be an exact match or is it going to be an approximate match? And this is that argument. And it says this is going to be either true or false, isn't it? It says if that thing you got back was greater than 1, that means it's in the variable schedule, number 2. So this would be true, wouldn't it? That would be an approximate match. But if this statement is false, that means you got a number 1. So we want this to say false, meaning an exact lookup. It's a complex formula, but it does everything automatically. The user only has to say, here's the item number I want, here's how many I want. And that's all they have to do, and this figures it out for them. Now let's look at the rest of it. The rest of it is just what we said. It's what if they didn't enter something in the item number, then we say just put a blank here. But if they did enter something, then start this whole VLOOKUP process. All right? So tennis balls should be the only one that are based on quantity. Let's look and verify that. All these things should not matter on quantity, should they? Because they're all fixed pricing. So here's the unit price. If I change this to 600, that unit price should stay the same. Everything else will change, but that unit price stayed the same. Same thing here. If I change that to 150, unit price stays the same. But here, this is 300. Remember, over 240 was $2. So if I ordered less than 240, this price should go up. And it does. What if I ordered less than 120? Then this price should go up again. What if I ordered less than 60? Then this price should go up again. So this is the only one that's based on quantity, and as long as you order 240 or more, then you get the best price, $2 per. So that was a complicated formula, but it uses all those functions that we talked about, and it allows us to write a formula that the user never sees. They just say, here's what I want, here's how many of each I want. This finds the price, this finds the shipping weight and multiplies it times that. The total should just be the unit price times however many units, right? Before the discount and the shipping. So this should just be unit price, which is right there, E9, times quantity. And again, if they didn't enter anything over here, just put a space there. Okay, so that's a pretty easy formula. Our total order would just be the sum of all these things, wouldn't it? But what if all those things are blank? Then it would just say 0. So it just says just add those things together. And if they're all blank, it'll just put a 0 there and it won't hurt anything. And this says just tell me the total weight of their order. Now that we know the total price and the total weight, now we have to say, how do they get a discount? Well, let's look at the discount. It says, if you order at least $5,000, you get a $150 discount. But if you order at least $10,000, you get a $400 discount. And if you order $25,000 or more, then you get a $1,000 discount. Our total was what? It was 16, almost 17,000. So that should be $400 discount. And that would be a horizontal lookup, wouldn't it? And it would simply be horizontal lookup, row 2 is what we want back, and we'd want it to be an approximate match, wouldn't we? So that should be fairly straightforward. It just says, look up this number in F16, go to the discounts table, which is horizontal, give me what's in row 2, make it approximate. Oh, by the way, put a minus in front of it so that it subtracts it from their total. Now the shipping. This will be interesting because the shipping depends on the shipping method, how are you going to send it, and what kind of customer is this? Do they get a better price? So let's look at shipping. We've seen this type thing before in the earlier sections. This says, find what region it's going to, and then tell me what kind of method is being used. But there are 3 different tables. Notice this is 45 cents for region 5 in the truck. But this is a little bit less because this is a preferred customer. And this is even less because it's the most preferred customer. So we're going to be using the index function. We're going to be using the match function to match the truck, rail, air, or boat, tell us what position it is. And then we're going to be using the other piece of the index function and say, oh, by the way, which area do you want? This is probably area number 1, which is standard. This is area number 2, which is preferred. This is area number 3, which is most preferred. So let's look at this formula and we'll be done. Let's walk through our shipping formula. Again, it's somewhat complicated, but we can understand it. And the big picture is, I want you to see that all the customer has to do is say, I want this item and I want this many of it. That's all they have to do. Everything else is figured for them because we want that customer to buy from us instead of someone else. You've probably seen these things online when you order. You just say, this item, this many, tell me how much the shipping is, tell me how much I owe. We don't even say tell me, they just list it out just like this. So let's look. First of all, our big function is an index function. We want to know what's the shipping price per pound. And once we get done with that, we're going to multiply it times D16, the total weight of our order, and that's going to tell us how much the shipping is. So all this formula has to do with where do we go to look up how much they're paying per pound. Well, first of all, there are 3 different places they could go, right? Shipping 1, shipping 2, shipping 3. And that is, shipping 1 is that first one, which is the standard. Shipping 2 is the second one. Shipping 3 is the most preferred one. But notice it's set up all the same. Here's the region, that's the row number. Here's the method, that's the column number. So we go back to our orders table, look at that formula, and we say, first of all, what's your reference for the areas you want? It's these 3 areas. Now we want to know the row number. How are we going to get the row number? We want the region number. We're going to look up F4, which is the state that it's going to, the state abbreviation. We're going to go to the states table, give me column 3 an exact match. That's going to tell me what row number I want. So let's go look at the states. The states says it's this table. The first column is the state abbreviation, and I want column 3, which tells me what region it's going to. So whatever that column is, that's going to be, whatever that value is, that's going to be the row number right here that we're going to look up in the index function. So that gives us the row number for the index function by going to the states table and just looking up what's the row number. But to find the column number in the shipping table is actually 1, 2, 3, or 4, isn't it? But we don't want the customer to have to type in a 1, 2, 3, or 4. We just want them to pick truck, rail, air, or boat. So on the orders table, they're going to put that right here. They're going to say, what method do you want to ship? And so we're going to go look in that cell. We're going to match F5, which is right here, and we're going to say, go to, actually we could have picked any one of those sections. This is the shipping worksheet B4 to E4. Shipping worksheet B4 to E4. In other words, if you look up truck, rail, air, or boat, and you're matching it, it's going to tell you, is it the first thing, the second thing, the third thing, or the fourth thing? We could have just as easily looked here or looked here because they're in the same order. So that part is going to tell us which column do we want for our index function right here. The column number is going to be, find out whatever they put up here and go match it and see where it falls. Which column do we want? The third thing we want is what area do we want? We've got these 3 different areas that we could look it up in. That's shipping 1, shipping 2, shipping 3. And the match says, if I can tell you what position number, 1 would go to shipping 1, 2 would go to shipping 2, 3 would go to shipping 3. So I'm going to look in F6 and say, find preferred in this list of things and tell me what position it's in. Notice that we're not going to a range. We're just listing things right here. We're saying, look up whatever this is, see if it matches the word regular, the word preferred, the word most preferred. Make sure it's an exact match. And here's an important thing. When you are using the match function and you're listing the things that you want it to match against right here, then we have to put the curly braces around that. So that tells us the area number, and that tells us which of those tables to go to, what row, what column. That gives us the unit price per shipping per pound, and then we multiply it times the pounds.